ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Bike riders take to the streets in the northwest regional capital, Bamenda, and they were protesting today over some grievances adversely affecting their sector of activity. And we'll be giving you details with our northwest correspondent Stella in this newscast, and also talking about the COVID-19. French President Emmanuel Macron has postponed Africa's external debt to be concealed to enable the continent fight the pandemic. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this edition of the news. We begin right away in the northwest regional capital, Bamenda, where several bike riders took to the streets today, and they were moving up station to meet the governor of the northwest region, Adolphe Lele-Lafrique, in order to present their grievances to the top administrative authority of the region. They are protesting over a series of grievances, issues badly affecting or adversely affecting their sector of activity, and they were stopped around Seaben by the divisional officer of the Bamenda 1 municipality, who met with them and talked to them, and they also presented their grievances to the administrative authorities. In the following extract sent to us by our northwest correspondent Stella, take a listen to the divisional officer of the Bamenda 1 municipality and some of the bikers.
One thing that I will begin with one thing. We are in a country of everywhere here in Bamenda. Listen, you have the subdivisional office. When you want to express yourself on one thing that you don't accept.
Added to what my brothers and sisters have said here, I am here to see all this population that are here today. We are here because of bike. I'm not repeating what my brothers and sisters have said. I heard you, our big man, have said something that we should go, after making all those books, we should go and let them spray our bike. We know about our brothers out there that are in the bushes, and they are refusing that we should not spray the bike. And if we spray the bike, they will personally catch it and burn them. I am here standing. If they burn our bike, who is going to be responsible for this burning? Because we are willing and ready for spreading the bike and making all those documents. But what happens if they go take our bike and burn it? Who is going to stand the response? Talk in English.
Yes, I will translate it. All right, sir. Some of us in this town, we are IDPs. So some of us live through this by work. So we want to plead to our government. We know that in every country there is law and order. So we want to plead. It's just that the demand is too high for us. So we want to plead to our parents, to our government, that let them reduce our tax so that we will meet up. We have not refused to be in order. We will be in order.
But what the tax? The impôt libératoire?
The books are too high. Sir.
The books are okay.
First and famous, why would they for street today? Now because the cash will buy them. We will not get problem for make the book them. We feel make the book them, but the only thing I say, when you make book go there, you know, you see you are buy. No buy them, they don't shift them from this town. That means say.
The divisional officer of the Bamenda 1 subdivision and some of the angry bikers in the town of Bamenda speaking there over grievances adversely affecting their sector of activity, and the administration is examining their grievances and finding solutions to the problems they are tabling to the administration Now, news on the COVID-19. The Republic of Cameroon and other African countries are still struggling to bring down the curve, to bring down the COVID-19 figures that have continued rising over the past weeks. Cameroon is speedily moving towards 1,000 confirmed cases in the country, and the number of deaths have also been increasing, but also the number of persons who have been successfully treated has also been increasing, and the government of the Republic is stepping up measures to bar the way to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the country. And one of such measures is the obligatory wearing of face masks by all in Cameroon in public places and public institutions. But this is in public institutions, but this is a measure that is not respected by many Cameroonians from north to south, from east to west, and we are taking you to the Mongo division in the littoral region of the country, where several persons have been arrested in Mbanga, that is in the Mongo division, for violating these instructions of the government.
A passenger ejected from a mini transport bus in Banga in the Mongo division of the littoral region. Another ordered to step down a commercial motorbike. They have ignored the obligation by government for all to wear face masks in Cameroon to curb spread of the coronavirus. The bus passenger explains to the security officer implementing the measure he did not learn of it because he does not have a television set at home. They are not the only ones ignoring this government's measure. Many others make reinforcement of the response actions tough. A woman is picked up in a market, a delicate environment which could favor rapid spread of the COVID-19 if there was an unprotected infected person. Her complaint is that she bought the face mask but forgot to wear since she was in haste. The action to arrest the defaulters is welcomed by some Cameroonians.
Très bien, c'est très bien. On a quoi le gouvernement de faire tout ça. Ça c'est la meilleure façon de lutter contre la maladie, c'est normal.
Administrative authorities alongside the security officials are hoping to do more in the days ahead to ensure 100% respect of the face mask wearing measure, as just 60 to 70% of the population comply.
70% des populations adhèrent à ces instructions et font des efforts pour se procurer un masque.
Though arrested and later released, this serves as serious warning, thus a day of grace. Sensitization continues on the National Road number 5. Vo Armstrong, Mbanga Divisional Officer, implores the population to obligatorily wear the face masks. Security officers also make sure overloading is avoided. And respect of the social distancing rule.
Administrative authorities in the Douala-4 subdivision are also taking similar measures and actions to enforce the respect of the government's anti-COVID-19 measures, and other civil society leaders are also doing the same. Yesterday, activities were grounded at the Sodiko Motor Park, and the officials of that motor park have said that henceforth nobody will enter the area without a face mask. Yesterday, they were sensitizing the population while some health personnel were disinfecting the Sodiko Motor Park, and the divisional officer of the Douala 4 subdivision, Issa Dauda, and his collaborators held a meeting yesterday to discuss on strategies on how to enhance the implementation of government's anti-COVID-19 measures and also the respect of sanitation rules of the World Health Organization in order to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 in the Republic of Cameroon. In the following extract, take a listen to the divisional officer of the Douala 4 subdivision and one of the officials of the Sodiko Motor Park in Bonaberi.
Instruction of the Prime Minister taking the case of Penal Code, Article 260. Those who will facilitate the virus will be caught by the law. Taking the case of drinking places, those who will be found there after 6 p.m. will be caught and sent to the justice. The owner of the drinking place will have the document, the paper document that will be withdrawn, and those who will be present, they will be kept 48 hours.
We are here to sensitize everybody entering here into this park about the ailment of the COVID-19 that we all know. We have to fight so that that sickness should not attack anybody entering this park. And anybody entering this park, as from Monday the 13th of April 2020, everybody has to wear his face mask to protect himself from the coronavirus, that the government has said it over and over.
The President of France, Emmanuel Macron, has proposed that Africa's external debt be concealed to enable the continent fight against the coronavirus pandemic. He made the proposal while addressing the French people on the global health crisis. Details with Fomi Armstrong Sanda.
In his State of the Nation address, which focused on the evaluation of the first phase of the French response plan against COVID-19 and the presentation of the next stage of the plan, French President Emmanuel Macron proposed the cancellation of Africa's external debt, presenting what he called an idea that will save France, Europe, and the entire world from the deadly hands of COVID-19. Emmanuel Macron noted that Africa, which is currently witnessing a devastating effect of the coronavirus pandemic on its economic and social life, will not be able to repay the huge debt owed international financial partners, as well as development and diplomatic partners.
Nous devons aussi savoir aider nos voisins d'Afrique.
We should also be able to assist our African neighbors to be able to effectively fight the virus, assist them on the economic domain in cancelling their debts massively. We shall never conquer alone, because today in Madrid, Brussels, London, Beijing, New York, Algiers or Dakar, we are mourning loved ones killed by the same virus. To Emmanuel Macron, a fragmented world will not be able to conquer COVID-19.
Il est de notre responsabilité.
Today, it is our responsibility to build a new solidarity and cooperation. In few weeks, we will have to decide the future.
Dans les prochaines semaines.
As if a double misfortune, the African countries hardest hit by COVID-19 are highly indebted countries, with the like of South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Senegal, Niger, Cameroon, and Ivory Coast, totaling some 310,139,000,000 francs CFA external debt. A cancellation of the debt will no doubt boost the capacity of these African countries to effectively fight COVID-19. If Europeans, Asians, Americans, and international financial partners like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund will heed to the call of the French President Emmanuel Macron, remains unknown. Africa, as of April 14, 2020, counts 14,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 788 deaths in some 52 African countries.
From Armstrong Sanda reporting, the International Monetary Fund has decided to grant a 6-month debt relief to 19 African countries. Cameroon is not among the 19 African countries that will benefit from that initiative of the International Monetary Fund. On to something else now. Colonel Bikele Pierre Aimé is the new commander of the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion, and he takes over the helm of the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion from Colonel Abina Ahanda Francois, and the latter handed over the baton of command to Colonel Bikele Pierre Aimé today in the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion headquarters here in Douala. The ceremony was presided at by Brigadier General Tongi Elias, commander of the 2nd Gendarmerie Region. The new commander of the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion said he has 3 major assignments linked to the security challenges in the northwest and southwest, and of course the littoral regions of the country and the COVID-19 pandemic. Take a listen.
So with the partnership I was talking about, we have, first of all, to fight effectively and efficiently the criminality and insecurity in the region in general and in Douala in particular. Secondly, we need to contain the secessionist threat coming from Southwest region through the Mungo division. And thirdly, we have to be sure that the governmental measure of response to the coronavirus are well implemented in our region.
And we're going to wrap up the first part of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television with this sad news. Equinoxe Television's Floraze is no more. The radio and television animator died yesterday here in Douala following a brief illness, and in a report coming up next, Immaculate Fogwe brings to us details and reactions from colleagues, family members and friends.
Nouvelle édition de votre programme télé-réalité My Dream.
As she went down the stairs of Equinoxe Radio and Television on Monday 13th of April 2020 due to malaise, Asunga Zay Crystal Floor, popularly known as Floraze, won't be able to come back to the media house. She died while she was being taken to the Lokbaba Hospital in the Douala 3 subdivision by her family members.
The 3rd of April. After the birthday, I was in the meeting, my family meeting Saturday, and Flora organized another birthday here in the house. After that, now she said she have a stomach ache. Yes. After that, she vomited, and the time to arrive in the hospital, she's sick. So the doctors don't have time to check anything because time to reach in the hospital for death.
The 30-year-old animator anchored a number of programs such as This Douce le Zénith, My Dream and Vous et nous Mesdames on TV and radio respectively.
Comment fait-on pour être voilà, pour être fidèle à sa famille, même avec l'alliance aussi, on peut être infidèle. Il y a des femmes qui achètent des bagues sans même être mariées.
Her zeal in the entertainment industry made her launch the first edition of the concept Black Attitude to valorize the African skin. Her sudden death has left her colleagues, family, friends and fans in shock.
Non, ils savent pas. Voilà ta place ici qui est encore vide.
I must say, Floraze was more than just a colleague to me. Floraze, I must tell you, we were very close. I remember when I used to come to the radio, we were doing news summaries and equally news editions. She was always the one giving us the air. And Floraze, as her name pronounces, and always say Flora Aze. I mean, that was just the fun that we had here before and after we do the news summaries. It was really fun. So they just had to attach her name, Flora, and then with Aze.
It's so difficult to me to say something about the death, Flora's death. So, Flora was my sister, my friend, my colleague, and I want to send my condolences to her family. So may her soul rest in peace, Floraze. We are together, Floraze.
Floraze leaves behind a 5-year-old daughter, her family, colleagues and friends to mourn her. Floraze, your legacy lives on.
And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in Talking Point. Today, we're going out of the country to talk with a Cameroonian who is in the diaspora, and he's been closely following up happenings in the Republic of Cameroon. He's a civil society leader, coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, Dr. Ita Ewane. Is joining us in this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. Good evening, Dr. Ita Ewane.
Good evening, Mr. Babila.
Thanks for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be with you.
I guess you are in confinement, is that?
Exactly, Mr. Babila. We've been in confinement for over 4 weeks. And we don't know what's going to happen in the next coming weeks. Well, the German government will be making a new outing tomorrow, and new decisions will be made. So we wait for tomorrow and see, and we will see what the future holds for us.
What's the situation where you are, as far as the COVID-19 pandemic is concerned?
Yeah, I'm actually living in Bavaria, and Bavaria is the most afflicted state in Germany. So we have close to 20,000 infected cases, and Germany as a whole has over 3,000 deaths and over close to 70 to 80,000 confirmed cases. So it's quite tense here. People have been confined, schools have been shut down, and the penalty for going out in Bavaria is quite high. It can go up to about 25,000 euros. So that tells you how serious it is here.
How are Cameroonians in Germany managing to survive in this present situation with the coronavirus pandemic? Some Cameroonians and other Africans in China are being maltreated by Chinese authorities. They are raising concerns over their security and other challenges that they have been facing. What is the situation of Cameroonians in Germany? Dr. Ita Ewane is the coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, speaking to us there from
Mr. Babila, there was some
yes.
kind of a technical fault.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, Cameroonians in Germany, just like the rest of the German population, are very concerned, and they are following up seriously what is happening in the world. And let me just tell you that we've lost some Cameroonians also here, and actually right now there's a friend of ours who died 2 days ago, and it's quite sad that we are unable to even organize some kind of a farewell evening for the friend, and the corpse will not be able to be returned to Cameroon, to be repatriated to Cameroon because of health concerns. So it's quite a difficult situation. But then we are equally following up what has been going on in China, and we find that quite disgusting and totally unacceptable, that Africans again are made responsible for something they know nothing about. What is more troubling for us is the silence of most African leaders. Of course, we've had reactions from the Nigerian government and reactions from the Secretary General of the African Union Commission, but we are expecting more. I think this is the time for Africans to stand up as one man and protect their citizens. And I'm using this opportunity to make an appeal to the government of Cameroon and Cameroon's #1 diplomat, who should be the Minister of External Relations, to come out and condemn outrightly what is going on in China. Of course, we have a huge Cameroonian population in China, and our government needs to know what is happening to these people. The government of Cameroon has to protect these people. The Cameroonian embassy in Peking has to come out and try to find out what is happening to the Africans, and especially to the Cameroonians living in China. You've seen videos. People have been kicked out of their hotels. Students have been kicked out of their hostels, and they've been rendered homeless in a strange country. And apparently there's no one to speak for them. We very much appreciated the outing of the Nigerian foreign minister and the consul general of Nigeria in China, who came out and spoke bitterly to the the Chinese authority and requested for more explanations. Now we expect our government to be doing the same. We cannot abandon Cameroonian citizens in a strange land. They need our protection at the moment when they are being treated as gringos, as inferior beings. I think we have a huge Chinese population in Africa. There are more Chinese in Africa than there are Africans in China. So the Chinese in Africa have been welcomed with open arms, and we expect them to reciprocate this. So if they cannot do this, our governments need to react, and they need to react in the strongest terms.
All right, let's come back home to talk about the management of the COVID-19 pandemic back here in Cameroon. What is your take on all the efforts of the Cameroon government, which has moved from 13 to 20 anti-COVID-19 measures, imposing the obligatory wearing of face mask by all persons in Cameroon, in public places and in public institutions? What is your take on the management of this health problem in Cameroon?
Mr. Babila, first of all, let me say we appreciate the fact that the government has taken some measures to try to contain the pandemic. But then let me also say that we are living in some of the most afflicted countries in the world. Like I said, you have over 23,000 deaths in the United States, over 20,000 in Italy, over 3,000 in Germany. These are countries that are technically and financially well placed to confront the crisis, but they are overwhelmed. And so that makes us to panic about the situation in our country. And that's why we are saying, we from the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora are saying, yes, the government has taken measures, but this is largely insufficient to contain the spread of the pandemic. This is because we know how weak our health system is. And if we face the situation that we have the same experience like those in Italy, in Germany, and the United States, I'm afraid there will be a complete dissemination of the Cameroonian population. And that's why we are asking the government to take more stringent measures. Yes, confinement is difficult. We know it because we are experiencing it. We know what our children are going through here. But if that should save lives, then I think the government needs to make more steps. And we sent out a petition asking the government to kind of release 4 categories of prisoners. This is because we know the difficult situation of our prisons. I mean, they are over-congested. So the government needs to take measures right now to decongest some of the prisons. And that's why we said all political prisoners should be released from Cameroonian prisons, including those detained in the Anglophone crisis. These are people who've been detained for 1 year, 2 years, some 3 years. without any judgment, without any trial. So these people have no reason to still be in prison. We also ask for those who are prisoners who are on remand, since they benefit from the presumption of innocence. So these people can be let free. And any prisoner who has a proof of any known address can be set free as well. And those who have served at least half of their prison sentence, I think they deserve to be released now. This is a measure. Sometimes we understand that the government is willing to enforce laws of the country, but then when there is a crisis, some of these laws can be suspended in the best interest of the populations. And one of the main concerns of the government is to secure the security of its populations, or the security of its country. And at the center of the security is the human element. So for us at the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, the security of the people of Cameroon is the most important element. And so the government needs to take measures to ensure that Cameroonians are safe.
Dr. Ita Iwane, you're saying that in times of crisis like these, especially when it concerns directly human life, some laws can be kept aside, some laws can be violated for the sake of human life. But that's not the way government is thinking. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Tanganji Paul, has said to all individuals and political parties, including Professor Maurice Kamto of the Sierran Political Party and his party, to stop all fundraising for the fight against COVID-19, because it is illegal to do so without an authorization from the Ministry of Territorial Administration. What do you think about that?
I understand that the minister is basing his arguments on law number 083/002 of 1983. Yes, we understand that law exists, but then I say it again, in the best interest of our populations, we can suspend certain laws, because what Professor Kamto is doing, it's not about politics at the moment. Well, the government might know, the minister might know things that I do not know, but I think the amount of money that Professor Kamto has raised can do a lot to save lives in Cameroon. So this is not time for politics. People are dying all over the world, and we are trying to save lives in Cameroon, just like Professor Maurice Kamto is doing. So we support his effort. So, and just him, not him alone, we support the government efforts, and any other Cameroonian should be given the opportunity, if they can, to try to contribute in saving lives in Cameroon. I want to also inform you that we at the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora have launched a similar initiative. We are seeking financial and material support from our friends and network to try to contribute and support the government effort in fighting against the coronavirus in Cameroon. So we leave politics apart. This is not a partisan issue. We at the CPD, we are not a political party, and we are not allied to any political party, but we put the interests of the people of Cameroon at heart. And so if this is the reason, this is the motivation that pushed Professor Kamto to try to organize a fundraiser, then I think the government should have a rethink of their decision, and rather help Professor Kamto to better coordinate his effort, because it's all about it's all about the people of Cameroon. And let me tell you, Mr. Babila, I think the government of Cameroon is a signatory of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And some of the measures the government have taken right now have infringed on this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Limiting one of the most fundamental human rights is the freedom of movement, freedom of association. All these freedoms have been suspended in Cameroon right now because of a genuine challenge. And so I don't see why they cannot suspend law number 83/002 of 1983. So if any Cameroonian contribute,
There seems to be a sort of disorder that has been provoked by that decision of the Minister of Territorial Administration to ban the fundraising to fight against COVID-19. The Prime Minister who came out and said all initiatives as far as the fight against COVID-19 should come to him. The Minister has issued a release, or he has written to the Minister of Finance asking him to close down the accounts created by the Cameroon Renaissance movement for that purpose, insisting that it is illegal. Will it not be logical for Professor Maurice Kamto to go ask for authorization instead of insisting the illegal way?
Well, if he thinks, well, I don't want to speak on behalf of Professor Kamto. I think he's also a legal mind and he knows exactly what he's doing. Well, if he thinks it's better for him to ask for authorization, well, he should do it. But what I'm saying is the decision by the minister is a display of power. And I say, this is not time for politicking. This is not time to demonstrate who is more powerful than the other. This is time to think, like the COVID-19 virus is a challenge to our collective conscience. And so we need to work all together as Cameroonians. This is time to rally behind the flag, to face the challenge. We need to overcome this or have our population disseminated. Well, I'm not surprised at the minister's decision, knowing who the man is, and this is not the first time he's making such illogical decisions, but I think he has a group of advisors around him, and people need to talk sense to him.
Earlier you said
we are talking about Cameroon and about the lives of Cameroonians. We all have that collective responsibility to ensure that Cameroonians live in peace. Cameroonians are given an opportunity to live a decent life in their own country, and most importantly, the role of the government is to protect lives.
Earlier you said the measures taken by the government against the COVID-19 this far are largely insufficient. What has not been done by the Cameroon government, or what is not being well done?
Mr. Babila, I think one of the most illogical things we are seeing in that country is that the government shut down schools and let bars open till 6 o'clock. So it's like maybe someone told the government that the COVID-19 virus becomes active only at night. So this is not sufficient. We are living in Europe, the United States. Most of the cities have been shut down. Germany shut down its country a couple of weeks ago.
Are you suggesting that Cameroon
technical and medical sophistication?
Are you suggesting that
asking the government to limit movements? It's not sufficient to make announcements without putting in place implementation measures. Also, we know how difficult the economic situation in Cameroon is. So limiting movement and economic activity should go with some measures of accompaniment. You cannot ask people who do not have food to stay at home without any support from the state. We know this is a heavy responsibility on the state, and that's why we all are trying to seek for funds to try to support. But then the government needs to provide some incentives to the population so people can see a reason why they have to stay at home.
Let's be a little more precise. What are those incentives that government has to provide for a lockdown, for example, to be implemented, for people to stay back at home, for people to respect all the measures?
First of all, you have businesses. These are people who earn money on a day-to-day basis. Now, when you ask them to shut down their businesses and to stay home, you should provide some financial incentive. We are not saying government should pay people a huge salary. At least the government should provide means for people to be able to survive on a day-to-day basis. Those people need some compensation, otherwise they will have to go out because food is a basic necessity. It's unavoidable. You need to eat on it every day. And so these people will need some financial incentive for them to be able to stay at home. So we need the government to come out with a package, a stimulus package, for example, that will encourage people to stay at home.
All right, Dr. Ita-Ewane, let's talk about the government's plan to reconstruct the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. What do you think about this plan coming in at this point in time, the feasibility of this plan?
Yeah, this is another heavy burden on the government. I think what should be most important for the government right now is the fight against the COVID-19 virus. It's not about reconstruction of the Northwest and the Southwest. And what surprises me so much, what baffles me a lot, is the fact that this government has gotten so used to skipping steps in resolving problems. So why are you trying to come up with a package to reconstruct while there are still people in the bushes? There are still people carrying, a group of Cameroonians carrying weapons, carrying guns. So first of all, the government should try to negotiate to put an end to the crisis, and then reconstruction can come later on. You cannot start reconstructing. You build today, and tomorrow they are burning the houses or whatsoever down. That's a real waste of resources. So the government needs to set its priorities. First of all, get themselves genuinely committed in resolving the crisis, and then they can work out a genuine plan for the reconstruction of the two regions with the implication of all actors involved in the conflict.
Thanks, Dr. Ita-Ewane, coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, for joining us in this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television, live from Germany.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. And before I leave, I would wish to express, on behalf of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, our deepest and heartfelt condolences to the Equinoxe TV family for the loss of your colleague. We wish you a lot of courage, and we pray that her soul may rest in peace.
Thanks, Dr. Ita-Ewane. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Goodbye.